So this is a tutorial in C#, and it is for variables, data types, and adding numbers with equations. So what I want you to do is I want you to go to Replit and create a new Replit. We're going to call it C#, and it's going to be called variables and data types. I'm going to show you some examples of some things, and then what I want you to do is to go and look at the article and link below, go and read through the W3C schools stuff just to get this solidified in your head, and then I'll do some of these exercises down below. And I'll explain those in a bit. So this shouldn't be a very long tutorial, but basically so the last one we talked about brackets, the importance of brackets, how they enclose everything, importing libraries, and the main function. We also did some console.writeLine print statements. So and we ran that, and then it printed hello world to the console here. Well, what we want to do now is we want to create some variables and some different types. Now there are different types of variables. There is a string, and how we define a variable? It's the strings. We write the type string, and then we write the name of the variable. So you can think of like a variable as a placeholder for some data. To put something in that variable or that box, you can imagine it's like a box and it's empty. It's a place in the computer's memory. We use the assign or the equal sign. And then I can put a message, so I can say, hello, YouTube. And then instead of printing out a hard-coded message like this, I can actually just pass in the variable into the console.writeLine as a parameter. So for console.writeLine, there's something called a function that we'll cover a little bit later on, but you can basically pass anything you want in there. And if you pass a string in there, it will print it to the console here. So that is a string. A string is defined by saying it's a string, and then you have the type, and then use equal sign to put something into it if you have something to initialize with it. And then you have these quotation marks that surround the string. If you don't have any quotation marks like this, the computer will think it's an error. It will think it's a variable or something. So you need to indicate that as a string by having quotation marks around it. The next type is a whole number. So let's put age. My age is 42. How old do you think I am? Put in the comments below, just a joke. We're going to add this on something called concatenation. We can add variables together with strings. So I'm going to add this on. I'm going to say, hello, YouTube. I am, and then so add on the variable age. So we're like sort of, this is a hard-coded string in our console.writeLine, and we're adding on variables around it to sort of to make it up and change the value of it. So I'm 42. So if I run that again, you can see a print statement here saying hello YouTube, and then it will say I am, and then the contents of age. So how do we define a whole number or an integer? We write the type int, then we write the name of the variable, and then we use a sign, and then we put the thing that we want to put into that variable space. And then we can concatenate strings. So concatenate strings and variables to make a sentence. So this is an int, a whole number, and this is a string, which is a string of characters that makes a word. Okay. And indicate that by surrounding them by quotation marks. Other types, we could have a float. Let's have height. How high do you think I am? Because you can't tell, put it in the comments below. 183, and then a float is a fractional number. See, and because I'm never 1 meter or 2 meters, I'm always 1 point something meters. And we use an F here to indicate to the computer that it's a float. and then we end the line with a semicolon. So we can add to this string now. So hello YouTube, I am however years old. My height is, and then we can add on height. If I run that again, now we're going to get an even longer message, adding on these other variables, concatenating them, printing them to the console, saying my hello YouTube, I am however old, and my height is this. Other types of fractional numbers are doubles. So we could have a double is called a double because it has double the amount of space in the computer so it can be more accurate. A double could be well, you could have it for height. You could also have it for I'm thinking money. Let's put money. And how much money have I got on me today? So I've got £10. And with a double, you don't need to write anything after it. You don't need to write F. You just define it as a double, and then you put the fraction in there. And then again, you can like add on to this string. And I have this much money on me. So we'll add on money. Maybe you've got more money. Now, if we run this again, so when you do it, maybe you can make it say different values. Obviously, if I change this, any of these values, so if I change this to 20, instead of printing 10 here, it will print 20 because I've changed the contents of that. Just like play around with that. So that's another concept that you need to. If you want to reuse that variable and put something else in it, so I'm going to update money now. Well, let's do another print statement after this. Let's give myself more money. So money, we can make an equation out of variables, and I'm reassigning the value of money. So I'm going to say money equals money plus 30, right? And then if I printed out this whole thing again, let's just copy that. It's going to print the same thing out again, but this time it's going to print, instead of 10, it's going to print 30 because I've got £30. And maybe we want to put a pound sign in here as well to make it quite obvious that it's money. So there it printed 10, there it printed 40. Yeah, if we try to declare another variable, let's type double, and we called it money, and then we put 30 in there, we're going to get an error from the compiler. Why? Because we've already used that variable name. So you can never have variables of the same name. They always have to have different names. So we could call it money2 or whatever, but you can't call it money. You can reuse them, as I said, but then you don't need to write the type in front of it. So in C#, when you write the type in front of a variable and then you write the variable name, that is called initializing. So we are initializing the variables, right? And this is called reassigning the value of a variable, right? So other types of variables we can have are bools. A bool is either true or false. So I am rich, and we're going to say false, unless anyone wants to send me any money or pay me to do lessons for them. Still not going to make me rich. So we can have a variable here we can do something with. What could we do? We could print that to the screen. The next tutorial is about if statements, and that's something in which we could make a decision about something. So we could do one thing if I was rich and one thing if I wasn't rich. But in this one, we'll just keep it simple. And we'll print a string, I am rich, and then we're going to add on that, and it's going to say false, which doesn't really make any sense, but it's a Boolean value. So again, like if you go to this link here and you look up data types in W3C schools, so this is the iCode Medium page where I'll put all the worksheets and tutorials information you need and link them below. It shows you an example of some of the main types of variables. So we talked about int, double, bool, string, and char is one we haven't mentioned, but it's probably worth mentioning that too. So I said a string like message was a string of characters. Well, if you just want one character, you write a char, and then you could say letter, give it any name you want, and then you use single quotes and you say A. So this is a word, but it's just one single letter basically, and that is called a character or a char. So those are the main types of variables. So what have we covered today? We've covered types of variables, how to initialize, how to print them out to the screen in a sentence using string concatenation, how to change or reassign the value of a variable and then print that out again, see how it's different. We've also discussed how you need to have unique names for the variables. And then we talked about what a bool is, but that comes in more useful when we do if statements. So I'll link this in the Medium and the Medium article. Thank you.